Happy Tuesday, Buckeye fans. We're back. There's a game this weekend, which is nice. After 2 weeks to not have a game, it was a little rough. But we had our weekly press conference. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Will Howard. We'll start with Day. Dave, what stood out to you the most from what Coach Day said?
No surprise, but Donovan Jackson's back this week. He did then couch it, say, well, he needs to get through practice. But then Chip Kelly later said Donovan Jackson's playing. So we had got word this morning that Donovan Jackson was going to play. We had a note on Bucknuts in the boarding house about that. But, that was probably the main thing is they're going to get Donovan Jackson back. But he also said Austin Seyerveld has earned the right to play. So they've been very impressed with Austin, the way he stepped in there as a redshirt freshman those 2 games. But getting a senior back, former 5-star, third-year starter in Donovan Jackson. I mean, it's been nice. You've been able to rest Donovan Jackson, and then you still get that experience for Seyerveld. So that helps for the future, and it helps for this year because you continue to build depth. But getting I would say getting Donovan Jackson back was the thing that stood out the most. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. I think it will be interesting to see how the Buckeyes reintegrate him. As you said, Coach Day said he needed to have a full week of practice last week, so they felt like he was full go. Obviously, you need to carry that over this week. And then how you do the integrating of Austin Seyerveld. Coach Day was asked if Tegra Shabola is your for sure starting right guard, and it sounds like that is the plan. So where do you see them putting Austin in, if at all, in terms of first team snaps?
It was interesting because I was thinking hopefully they use Austin if they do that Bison package, that jumbo package, if they go with 6 linemen. And Coach Day said, he might be the guy they use there. So I think it's going to be a situation where against Marshall, and maybe next week against Michigan State, even though it's the Big Ten opener. I really don't think Michigan State's that good. I think they made a good hire, but he inherited a mess.
Yes.
So just the fact that Michigan State's 3-0 right now, like tip of the cap to them. But I think that might get out of hand as well. So I think there's going to be time for Austin to play this week and next week, despite the fact that Donovan Jackson's going to play left guard, meaning they'll get Donnie out of there, rest him a little bit, get Austin in there. This is just my opinion, my guess. And then if the game, if the Buckeyes get a nice lead, they can rest Donovan for the rest of the game and get Austin in there. So I still think, especially the way Coach Day answered that question, it'd be surprised I'd be very surprised if it's like a situation where Austin only plays like the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, and what you've gotten from these first 2 games is Austin Seyerveld's played every offensive snap with the first team offense, second team offense as well. I believe he got out at the end of the Western Michigan game a little bit, but they've wanted him to get integrated with the first team, obviously, but then also with that second group, which is probably where his future is going to lie with a lot of those guys. So he's played a lot of football in 2 weeks, which is a good thing, I think. And then we'll see how it works the rest of the season. You hope everyone else stays healthy and he can just be in that 6th man role, so to speak. The one thing, and this came up a lot with Chip Kelly as well, because you have 3-4 tight ends that they're pretty comfortable rotating in there, we haven't seen that Bison package. So that too could play a part in how much you have that 6th offensive lineman come in, because they seem to trust at least G. Scott and Will Kazmarek. Jelani Thurman as well has played quite a bit. And we've seen some Bennett Christian that they can do that job in heavier sets.
Yeah, and they do like their depth a lot at tight end. And, Pat Gird's another one. They didn't mention him today, but I think they like all 5 of those guys. The thing is, though, like in a big game, do you want a third tight end out there? Or do you want a big guy like Austin Seyerveld out there, as that extra lineman? I'd probably go with Austin. If you're going to need a yard against Penn State's defense, and you want to put an extra tight end out there or a third tight end, or you want to put a 6th offensive lineman, give me that 6th offensive lineman.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what you're doing, right? Like situationally, if you're in hurry up at the end of the game, you don't have time to sub a guy in, okay, you're comfortable with 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
Or if, you want to keep the option maybe more open of you might throw the ball in a situation. So I think it will be interesting to see when and where they put Austin into the game. But certainly good to have Donovan Jackson back. I mean, Coach Day maybe Coach Kelly, talking about just the leadership that he brings next to a guy like Seth McLaughlin, who I wrote a story about. You can find that on Bucknuts this morning about the leadership he's brought. But having those 2 veteran guys, played a lot of football between the 2 of them, I think that just makes this offensive line better. And after we saw them play well 2 weeks ago, you want to see that next step this week, right?
They're a veteran line. I mean, now they are. The Jackson's back. I mean, they're a little green with Austin in there. But, like, you look at it, I mean, Simmons is now, like, almost to 30 starts in his career. Donovan Jackson, almost to 30 starts in his career. Seth McLaughlin, same deal. And as Patrick's saying, Seth McLaughlin's really solidified this offensive line because the center, as we all know, is the quarterback of the offensive line. And he's just, Will Howard was talking about how sometimes he didn't even need to call it the protection because Seth has beat him to the punch. Now Will can just focus on what he needs to do outside of setting up the protection because he's got this veteran center in there who is taking care of even the quarterback's job. And sometimes that's the center's job anyway. It's a collaborative effort, but it couldn't have worked out better. You get Seth McLaughlin and Will Howard in there. I didn't realize they were on their recruiting visit at the same time. That's pretty interesting. So they're probably like, how about we come here and be the center and quarterback and win a national title? That's the goal. We'll see if they can do it.
We did also talk with Will Howard. There was a lot of conversation today about his play action RPO. We've seen a lot more of that than I feel like we have in the past just because he does have that threat to run against Western Michigan. You saw him pull the ball, run to the outside, and throw it. I think there'll be more off of that. But I think in the first game, 2 of his 3 touchdowns were off of what appeared to be play action. I think he had another few, not necessarily touchdowns last game. So they have utilized that, and it seems to be an area that he's pretty comfortable.
And the innovation, especially against Western Michigan, was impressive to me. And it makes me think, geez, if that's what Chip Kelly broke out against Western Michigan, what's he really saving? And because they were pretty vanilla against Akron. So, yeah, you're definitely seeing different run concepts. You're seeing more RPO and just variations of RPO. Ryan Day's always been good with RPO, but you're seeing different concepts in RPO. Yeah. You're seeing different run concepts. And just and listen, the offense was far from broke with Ryan Day running the offense. It's just a perfect scenario for Ohio State. You already had a very good offense. You could say a great offense. Then you bring in Chip Kelly, and he's just elevated it tremendously. And it's just fun getting a chance to talk with Coach Kelly. I like how they're doing it this year where they're rotating it every week. We get Ryan Day, of course, and then one of the coordinators, either Knowles or Kelly. They're both great to talk to. And then Will Howard, almost every week we're going to get him too. So I really like how they're doing this on Tuesdays. But yeah, I still almost can't believe it. I look up in the box, like, who is that Chip Kelly up there, look-alike up there in the box wearing that Block O hat? That guy looks like Chip Kelly. Oh, yeah, Chip Kelly's Ohio State's offensive coordinator. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, well, and getting Will Howard is fantastic. Not that we haven't gotten quarterbacks regularly, but he made it clear he likes to talk to the media. He feels that's part of his job. A couple weeks ago he said that. So good to know this isn't a chore in his schedule.
Yeah, Justin never told us that.
Yeah, I don't.
CJ might have.
Yeah, CJ
was kind of a pleaser though.
Yeah,
Justin was good with us. And a lot of the stuff with Justin was over Zoom.
Yes.
Because that was not 19, but definitely his final year. Everything was over Zoom with Justin at his apartment with his dog.
Look, and I say this in the best way possible, but I think that Justin was just so business focused, whereas CJ and Will, just more. We got to see more of that personality. I mean,
yes.
Look, Justin Fields lived by himself when he was at Ohio State. He talked about this.
He had a dog.
He had his dog. Yep. Yeah. It was basically, but that's what he did. He watched film, he did homework, and he hung out with his dog. And I think you see, and this is not a slight on Justin Fields. Everyone's different. We're talking about 2 starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But C.J. Stroud just kind of gave us more personality. And Will Howard's done some of that as well, which from a media perspective, I think from fans hearing it is good to hear. It's not just straight football all the time. You get a little bit of that personality. Going back to that play action stuff, it does not work if you can't run the ball. And True. Chip Kelly was asked a lot about the running backs today. I asked him specifically about Quinshon Judkins. Could this situation, maybe you'd like to have a little bit more depth in that room. Maybe if Dallin Hayden hung around, or if you brought somebody in from the transfer portal. But I think you like what you got, though, with these top 2 and James Peoples coming in, a little bit of Sam Williams-Dixon, and then Will Howard's ability to run. Is this almost the perfect scenario?
Yeah, I think you laid it out perfectly. Yeah, they'd like maybe another scholarship back just in case they all of a sudden have depth disappear. But they could withstand a injury. 2 injuries, you're getting into bad territory because then you're down to 2 scholarship backs. Yeah. But, yeah, if they can stay healthy, you couldn't draw it up any better than this. You got 2 basically co-starters who are about to go over 3,000 career rushing yards. Each of them, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, are knocking on the door to have 3,000 career rushing yards. That's crazy. And then James Peoples, even as a true freshman, being your number 3 running back, that is luxury city right there. I like Sam Williams-Dixon as the number 4. So, maybe Cisse could be that good walk-on that we thought TC Caffey would be before he got hurt, although Cisse is a true freshman. Caffey looked good a couple years ago as a true freshman. So they do have that emergency with Cisse. Coach Day was asked, was Caleb Downs, is that out of the mix now of him playing running back? He said, well, we're not ruling it out down the line, but right now we feel good about it. He's not repping at running back. You know, we could address that down the line if we need to. But I agree, Patrick, with Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson as your co-starters and just two of the best running backs in the country. And then James Peoples looks really good as number 3. Yeah, you really couldn't have a better scenario than this. Again, unless maybe you'd have one more scholarship running back. I know I'm kind of, being greedy there, but I harken back. It was less than 2 years ago. We were at the Peach Bowl, and Ohio State was down to like no running backs. Yeah. In the college football national semifinal against Georgia, and they almost won the game anyway. So we know depth can disappear at any position in football, especially running back. But man, this group is impressive.
Yeah, and they've done a good job of balancing it. I mean, neither running back has had to carry much of a workload, which, look, it's early in the season. The games haven't been close, so that's understandable. But, I don't know. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I would say both guys are around 14 touches per game, which that number will increase probably as we go along, but it's keeping them healthy now. And then I'm watching games this past weekend. I'm seeing a few freshman running backs doing some impressive things. And I think James People could do that if the opportunity were there. We've seen enough of him between what we've seen in games and when we were out here at practice. I mean, this kid could start for a program like Ohio State if they needed him to. I think it's a luxury that you don't have to go to him too much, but he looks ready to go when and if he is called upon, and you hope that's not till next season. Last thing, just because I've started again doing Buckeyes in the NFL, which is one of the most time-consuming things I do during the week and kind of a pain in the butt, but people seem to like it. Coach Day was asked about C.J. Stroud and some of the throws he made this week. He said he didn't see them, but he was told about them. He was also asked, much to my painfulness, about Marvin Harrison Jr. in the big game he had against the Rams. A lot of wide receivers had good days for the Buckeyes. C.J.
Jackson,
Stroud,
Smith, and Jigba.
Yeah, Chris Olave exploded after a slow first week. But C.J. Stroud, though, obviously Sunday Night Football, the kid is just so impressive.
He is. It's unbelievable. I mean, Ohio State has that monkey off its back. Am I jumping the gun there? No. I mean, there's no way I think C.J. Stroud's going to regress into, he's not a good NFL quarterback. My question is, how great is he going to be? Because, I mean, as Patrick said, he's 2 games into his second year, and he looks great right now. And yeah, that he walked into a better situation than maybe anybody expected with the Texans, but still, he was the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Nobody expected anywhere near what he did. Certainly not the Carolina Panthers. But I digress. Is that too soon? We told you, Carolina Panthers. Anyway, so impressed. And now Ohio State has the monkey off its back as far as, Ohio State never has produced a good NFL quarterback. Well, they've produced a great one. And Justin Fields, as much as I hate to say it, with the Chicago Bears just giving him away for free to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Justin Fields is looking pretty good. I won't be surprised if Russell Wilson doesn't win that job back. They'll probably give it back to him maybe at some point, but then I bet Justin Fields wins it back is my point. So good to see C.J. Stroud tearing it up. Except when he plays the Bengals, good to see Justin Fields doing well.
Yeah, and I saw during the press conference on Twitter that Justin will start again this week in week 3. Last thing, there wasn't much talk about Marshall. Coach Day was asked about Marshall and praised their coaching staff, and that was about as far as that went. But as a final game in the non-conference here, none of these were ever projected to be a test, but what do you just want to see to close out the non-conference before Big Ten play starts?
Obviously, Marshall's not a good team. They're not expected to be one of the top tier power or group of 5 teams, but I do think they'll be a better team than both Akron and Western Michigan. So it'll be a little bit more of a test. The point spread's about the same as it was against Western Michigan, 39.5 at last check. So, but I think Marshall will be a little bit of a step up. Again, you're just building to, even next week will be a little bit of a step up with, probably more than a little bit with Michigan State. Then the meat of the schedule comes around, my friends. But yeah, I think what I expect this week, pretty much more of the same as what we saw the first 2 weeks. I want to see Ohio State, what I want to see from Ohio State's perspective is look like a dominant force. I keep saying that. Look like a dominant force like they did against Western Michigan. And I do think the Thundering Herd are going to present a little bit more of a problem. They lost at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not that good. They lost 31-14 at Virginia Tech. So look for Ohio State to win this game comfortably, but maybe Marshall will be a little bit more of a test than their first 2 opponents.
All right. Well, Steve is uploading the videos as we speak. So if you want to watch the press conferences back, those will be on our YouTube page, up on the site later. And we'll have plenty more this week. More interviews tomorrow night, as usual. We're back in the swing of things after a weird week off early on. I'm glad we can get back into the routine after just basically starting it those first 2 weeks. So thank you guys. Dave, Thank you. We'll talk to you later this week, everybody.